Hey guys, and welcome to episode 35 of Creators Campfire. If you're new here, my name is Bhav and I'm your host. Tonight I am joined by Michael Soledad, who is a graphic designer, an Instagrammer, a YouTuber, a podcaster, and a dad and family man. And on top of that, a lovely, lovely human being. So guys, please welcome Michael.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this wonderful podcast, Bhav. And more importantly, thank you for that very wonderful introduction. I'm like, who is this person you speak of? Because he sounds like a wonderful, like a really cool person. Apparently it's me. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. No, seriously, thank you.
That is okay. It is you, and you are a wonderful person. And guys that are listening to this, it is currently 8:35 p.m. in the UK, and we have spent the last 45 minutes trying to get a live stream working. We failed at the first attempt, which is why this isn't being live streamed, and we have resorted to Zoom. So I apologize to anyone if the quality isn't up to scratch, but hopefully it's okay. We are now probably recording on 3 different devices, so hopefully we'll have an episode. We've got a backup of a backup of a backup. So if it still fails, then God doesn't want this podcast out, is the conclusion I'm coming to.
I just want everyone to know that in the last 45 minutes, I've now acquired a new best friend. So Bhav and I are basically best friends at this point because we've gone through so many technical issues, not on her end, not just on her end, on my end as well. So you might occasionally see my camera just cut off. That's completely normal. It's just me. So
I love this. I was saying to Michael earlier that I could not have hoped for a better guest to have gone through these technical issues with, because A, not only was he just wonderful to have there as support and telling me it was okay, and B, he does this all the time and he has reassured me that this happens a lot. So yeah, honestly, just so grateful. And yes, I can't tell you how glad I am it was you, and that we are now friends. Like, I actually said, yay! Right? I actually said when you jumped on that I would have liked to use some time to get to know you. And this isn't a great way to start. And you were like, this is a great way to start. And actually, you know something? 45 minutes later, I think you were right.
Yeah.
I can see it.
You get to know someone really, really well when you go through struggles.
And it's very true.
Boy, that was a struggle earlier.
That was a struggle. Yeah. I hope this doesn't happen again. But anyway, thank you for A, coming on, and B, helping us get here. So, of course. Amazing. So, Michael, I've already listed all of the things you do. But I suppose me, selfishly and personally, for this podcast, want to focus on the YouTube aspect of your kind of career so far. Mm-hmm. But knowing that everything else that you do all forms a part of it, and they're all interlinked, so they're not exactly siloed. So do you want to maybe tell people that don't know about you and your amazing desk setups, I will let you introduce them, a bit about your YouTube channel?
Sure. So let me start with my YouTube channel, which is still fairly new. I started it in the beginning of 2019, I think. And then, or was it 2019? Like sometime in 2019, like maybe the middle of it. But I really started to post in the beginning of 2020. So the original intent for that YouTube channel was to just, for me to start learning how to create videos and edit, and basically just get better at doing that. So I gave myself a challenge in which I needed to post a video every week, no matter how bad that video was. So I did pretty much just did that. But what better way to start content other than, I mean, I have a lot of just random stuff in my office. And one of the things that a lot of people resonate with is my actual office, the office that I actually work in. And so I said, why not create a channel where I share all these different things that I use, and maybe even share the office space or this desk space that I call it a creative space that I sit in. And so that was the original idea for the channel. And I think it's in a lot of ways, it still follows that formula. But I've slowly evolved into doing tech reviews, which is really weird because I honestly did not intend that to happen. But I am interested in tech and a lot of different types of tech. goes through, like passes through my hands and, my office, and I use them and, share my experiences. I normally just share it on my Instagram channel and then repurpose that and create a video on YouTube. But yeah, right now I'm figuring out how I can maybe make my channel a bit more than just tech. So yeah, I guess that's a little long-winded way of introducing my channel, but yeah, it's just me sharing the things that I like. And most of them, it's just about, do I like this thing? Do I like this space? And that's pretty much it. That's just me. So nothing else, nothing special.
No, I love it. It is special though. That's the thing. Okay, so I don't even know where to start because I had so many questions and so many things to say about this. So I guess we'll come on to the Instagram thing in a bit, because I guess that's kind of where it started and that's more about your background. But going into YouTube, like, what was the thought process behind that? And what was if there was like a strategy or anything, or like you said, now you're moving into tech, did you say, okay, well, I guess what I'm saying is, were your initial thoughts of, I'm just going to throw stuff up and it's just there? Or was it actually, I'm going to kind of be a bit more strategic about this and put this kind of content up and see where it goes from here?
That's a great question. So if I really think about my process, it was in the beginning when I started my Instagram account. I remember I was at my sister's house and I said, people have grown a very huge following on Instagram, and there's no reason for me to think that I can't do the same thing. So that year, I think it was 2018, I said, I will try to understand how to grow my Instagram. So I tried all these different methods, but the problem was, originally my intent was to create a portfolio for my graphic design work. Unfortunately, I'm not the best graphic designer. I mean, I've accepted that. It's just I have a very certain, like a particular clientele, and for me to show my work and expect people to say, "Wow, look at his stuff. It's really amazing," I might get a few fish. You know what I mean? But it wasn't really working out because there's way too many people who are just way better than me in that realm. Because I do a lot of like commercial real estate, graphic design, and to be honest with you, it's not really the sexiest type of graphic design. You know what I mean? Look at this building. It's just like, it's just not the best. So I said, instead of doing that, I'm going to start sharing my experience as a freelancer, and and primarily the space that I work with, because I was obsessed with basically having my own room ever since. I was obsessed with having my own desk. This is the first time I actually had my own desk. All my life, I've worked in a cubicle, and I hated those gray walls. And it's just like, there is nothing inspiring about that. And to me, there was like this huge disconnect for a creative to work in a space such as a cubicle. And it's very sad. And so when I got laid off, I said, you know what? The one thing that I can control is the space around me. So I'm going to try to make this as pretty as I can. And so I started sharing more of that. But one of the rules that I made for myself was that every time I share something on Instagram, it has to be either inspiring, relatable, or maybe makes the viewer ask a question, whether it's like, I agree with this person, or maybe I should consider that product, whatever it is. But the point was, I wanted to be as genuine as possible. Now, going to YouTube, I know this is a long introduction to my YouTube, but it'll make sense. So the journey to YouTube was that I felt like there's only so much that I could express on my Instagram posts. That's why if you look at my older posts, especially, I've kind of been known amongst my group of friends to have the longest captions. Like, I remember I would write and I'm like, I don't have enough characters. You know what I mean? It's like, where's the page 2? I wish there was a page 2. So I'm like, there's only so much I can do to express myself. I even started to do, aside from the long captions, I would post multiple photos and then add video. So if I'm featuring like a particular product, I would take a picture of that product and then talk about it and then add some video. So I'm trying my best to really show, the most that I can, basically. And so that's when I said, why not make a YouTube channel? because on my YouTube channel, then I can basically control everything, right? Like I can even focus on the sound. There's no restrictions as in terms of like, how long the content can be. Obviously, I'm going to try to keep it, to the point where people don't get old watching my channel. But it's like, you know what I mean? Like I wanted a way to really express or share more. And I think YouTube was the next step. YouTube was pretty much the only way that I could do that. That was a very long-winded way of saying that.
No, that's really cool because but it's actually so interesting to hear your thought process of the reason, because I think a lot of people, and maybe myself included, have always been, I just want to be a YouTuber. Like for me, I see other people doing it and I'm like, I could do that, and I want to almost be part of that club. And therefore it's not necessarily about expressing myself or something. It's just, hey, they look like super cool people. I want to be like in that crew. Whereas actually I think your reason is so much cooler and better. Not to say those people that aren't like me, just it's okay, but like that really makes a lot of sense. And you're kind of going into it, exactly what you're going into it for. You've got your why almost, right? You've got your purpose, and therefore I guess well, I guess we'll come on to this. Like it makes the journey a lot easier. You're not doing it for other reasons or ulterior motives. It's like, hey, I've got something to say and I want to express myself, and my current platform isn't allowing me to do it in like the best way I can, and therefore I'm going to use this other platform.
Well, to be honest with you, I also had the same dreams and aspirations. Like I wanted to be just like Peter McKinnon, for example. But the truth was, for me to just start a channel out of the blue and start acting like I'm already good at what I'm doing would be very disingenuous. Like I think it's not me, right? Like if I were to show up, if I, I try to think of, it's weird. This is a technique I've I wouldn't say I've mastered, but I've used every time I'm trying to speak to the camera or I'm trying to explain something. I'm always trying to imagine I'm talking to my kids. And when I'm talking to my kids, I want to be the most authentic self, right? So I want to be myself. I want them to know who I am. And so that's how I approach it. And I said, if I wanted to start my YouTube channel, I can't just be like, guys, follow all this like camera tricks and everything. I'm like, I'm not even sure how that works. You know what I mean? I have my process. And sometimes when you're in the creative process, you don't necessarily think of the steps. That's one of the challenges I've realized, is that a lot of people were asking me my process and how I achieve, this and that. Unfortunately for creatives, is me in particular, I'm not really thinking about the process too much. It's almost like a gut feeling. So when I take photos, I know exactly when and the time of the day, the angle. I have no plans. I'm mesmerized by all these creators that I see where there's a shot list and then you swipe through the photo and it's like a behind the scenes and they have an explanation as to why the light is this way, why the settings were like that. And I'm like, I just look for one that looks nice and I take a photo of it. So that, in keeping that in mind, I just didn't feel like it was the right way for me to be able to really, I guess, deliver my message on YouTube that way. So I started slowly. I started with Instagram because it's just pictures and words. And then after that, maybe I'll add a little bit of audio and video. And even in the beginning, you won't see my face. It's like I'm always hiding it with a cup or something. It's just like, you know what I mean? I just didn't feel comfortable. But as I grew, I slowly started to show more of my face. And then I just knew it just felt right. The time felt right when I'm like, you know what? I can finally show my face in the camera. So that's when the YouTube journey happened. So it's not to say that I knew that that was the best way of going about starting a YouTube channel, or maybe that was the right way, or maybe it's the easier way. As a matter of fact, I don't think it's the easier way. I think it's just like we all go through our own YouTube journey, trying to see what works, basically. But my intention was that I wanted to be as genuine to myself as much as possible. Because if I'm genuine to myself, I know that I'm not being fake. Because I mean, if I watch my old videos and I know I'm pretending to be someone else, I'll be like, I don't want to watch that. You know what I mean? It's just weird, right? So,
Yes.
approaching it that way just helped me a lot. So I think, it's not wrong to wish you want to be one of those, because I have the same wishes. I had the same dreams and aspirations, I guess you could say. I just went about it in a different way. And I'm still, I mean, my channel is still relatively small. So I'm still learning a lot, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Okay, so as someone who's literally just started, your channel is huge to me, and also incredibly inspiring, because not only are your physical videos amazing,
sorry,
that's all good. We had a good like 15 minutes where nothing had happened, so
I know
we were absolutely due.
I'm sorry.
I'm so expecting my cable to like get knocked and like the camera should just cut. What was I rambling about?
Oh, you were saying about your journey.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So I guess as someone who's just like, hey, I want to do YouTube, I'll figure it out as I go. Like, your channel again is one of those that you look up to and go, that is a channel I want to be like, right? It just looks amazing, and it's just so easy on the eye, but also the way you do things is nice. And again, and it comes back to that authenticity and like being genuine. It comes across in the videos, rather than someone who's just trying to be someone they're not. It's you, it's your video, it's your style, and it comes across, and it's like, yes, that's the kind of channel I want. No, I don't want to do desk setups or like that, because as we discussed, I have a crappy desk right now. But in terms of the actual type of like video you want to get across, that connection with like your followers and your subscribers, that's a really cool vibe, and that is something I really appreciate.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. I think you're just way too kind. No, I do. You know, a lot of people, and myself included, in the beginning, I thought that I needed to find that persona, right? That I'm using air quotes, because we all aspire to be someone that we admire, right? Like, I want to be like that person. I want to be like this. I realized that these people that we admire a lot are probably just being themselves. And so I try to approach it in a way how I would approach making friends in real life. So when I'm trying to make genuine friends or genuine connections, I don't paint myself as someone great. As a matter of fact, I do something really, it's not really unique, but it's something that I've learned. When I meet someone for the first time, I ask them a lot of questions. Like, I try to keep the conversation going without talking about myself at all. Like, I just keep asking them questions, but I'm not doing that as like a trick. I'm genuinely curious. So I make myself genuinely curious. And when I do that, I realize that, you know, people love to talk about themselves. And it's just, I guess it's our nature to share. And so I think when I was creating my channel, it was just about me thinking about winning these people over, like, sorry, winning these people over, my audience. And I do that by just being myself, right? And I'm pretending someone's just asking me questions, the same questions that are usually asked on my Instagram. And, you know, I just address them. And so when I'm sharing a product, for example, I imagine my friends asking me, so what would you think about this charger? What do you think about the phones or the headphones or whatever? And I would give them my honest opinion, my honest impressions, without trying to go through this whole YouTubers do this, YouTubers do that. Why don't you talk about specs? Because I remember I have this content, and admittedly, that wasn't the best video that I've made, but I would say it was the most honest. It's the Apple Airpods Max review.
Yeah.
So it got a lot of hate, which I'm just like, it makes me giddy sometimes when I'm looking at all the hate comments. It's so funny, but it's
I love
just
that reaction.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, 99% of those people who are saying all these really, really mean things don't mean that. They don't mean that. They just want to say something, right? How could you hate someone just because they don't like a pair of headphones? You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't happen in real life. So 99% of those people are just being silly. I imagine them to be just like I always picture my 9-year-old nephew when I'm picturing someone, when I'm reading someone's mean comment. I'm like, That's probably my 9-year-old nephew. And it makes me laugh inside. It was like, yeah, he doesn't even have a profile picture. You know what I mean? He's just like trying to make me feel bad. So, but that was like my most honest review, only because I approached that product as a consumer. So a lot of people were saying, why didn't you say the specs? Like, I didn't say the specs because you can read the specs on the website. How come you didn't know it was made of aluminum, or I think you guys would pronounce it as aluminium, right?
The correct way.
Yeah, the correct way of saying it. So I'm like, because I said it was plastic, but I was approaching it as a consumer, right? If I were to walk into an Apple store, and as a consumer, when Apple, and I admit I'm also a big Apple fan, when Apple releases a product, I don't even ask questions. I'm just like, I'll buy it. You know what I mean? No matter how expensive it is, I'll buy it. And it did. So I will basically, I'll hold my ground. You know, when I said all the things I said on that video, that was just being me. That was just genuinely being me. It's as if I walked into the store, try them on, and I'm like, what is this? Is this plastic? Oh, it doesn't sound good. It's not as comfortable. All right, I don't like it. I definitely would have walked away from the store not buying it. But people hated that video. Hated it so much, mainly because they said I was an Apple hater. And also, I think the second biggest thing was that they said I'm insert a mean word because I didn't even know it wasn't plastic, because I said it was plastic and I didn't know how to pair it. And I'm like, and people are saying, you don't read instructions. I'm like, I don't even remember the last time I read any instructions. And I asked all my family and friends, like, when was the last time you read instructions? And then my cousin was like, I go to IKEA, I buy a bed. I don't even read the instructions for that bed. I just put things together. I'm like, exactly. That's what most consumers would do, especially Apple consumers, because Apple fans have been trained by Apple that when you open up their box, you just expect it to work. As silly as that may sound, that's how they've marketed their products. Like, it's so easy, old people can use it, right?
Yes.
And so that's how I approached it. And I was really disappointed from my experience. And I'm like, wait, you have to update your phone first for the headphones to work? I'm like, wait, that's very much not like Apple. But how did we get to this topic?
I can't even remember, but I'm so fascinated because I've got so many opinions.
I'm so sorry. I tend to talk a lot. So
no, it's absolutely fine. No, I think you have completely valid points, because right, I'm going to try and do this in chronological order because I did have a lot of points. Firstly, I loved your approach and how you deal with these negative comments, because that is something that a lot of people struggle with, and it's not easy to do. And that's whether it's online or in person, to be honest. But you're right, online, it's so easy for people to type something within a second that they would never say to somebody's face. But even if they did, like, to approach it and say, hey, like, that's just funny, that's just some kid, right? It doesn't even matter, it's just a funny thing. And you're right, people do leave comments just to say something, just to be seen or something. And I think that's such a great way of approaching that kind of negativity, that, like, I am absolutely going to do that from now on.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt, right? Like, I've had days when I'm like, I just can't take negative things anymore. And, you know, if you really think about it, we only have a finite amount of energy during the day. It's either you use it towards something positive or negative. And so each person, like someone said, that when you grab your phone, when someone calls you on your phone and you look at who's calling, you can immediately determine if that person is adding to your day or taking from it, right? Like, it's taking energy away from you. Like, it's a negative experience versus a positive experience. So it doesn't mean like these mean comments never bothered me. They do. But I've also learned that if it only bothers me if I let it bother me, right? So if I sat there and read every single one, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to feel really, really crappy. But that's my way of approaching it. And to me, it's actually working. To me, it's not taking it too seriously. And I'm not being mean to them. I'm not trying to create content to hurt people's feelings. Not at all. As a matter of fact, what I'm making is free. So, you know what I mean? It's like, why should you be complaining? But no, to the point though, I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, how can you approach, or this is a true story. I've had people who have really large accounts on Instagram say, this is the reason why I don't post on YouTube. And that made me really, really sad, because it happened when I started posting some of these mean comments on my Instagram stories. It used to be a weekly thing. Like I used to wait during the weekends. Like if it's the weekend, I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm going to post like the meanest comment on my Instagram stories. And I actually got a lot of really heartfelt comments or messages from these accounts. And they'd say, this is the reason why I don't have a YouTube channel. And that made me really, really sad, because think about it. The reason why you are holding off with sharing your gift, your content with the rest of the world, is because you're afraid of some stranger that might say something, right? They might say something. So I'm like, that's not right. That just does not sit well with me. It's like my daughter coming up to me and saying, Daddy, I don't want to do this because the kids are going to make fun of me. You know what I mean? It's like, that's very, very sad. So I made it a point where I would share every single negative comment onto my Instagram page, like on a weekly basis. And it kind of like became a joke, and it became like a big thing. And I haven't done it in a while just because it takes up so much time. But the idea was, like, I remember someone even commented on my YouTube, and he or she was hating on my account, and they were saying, you even share all these comments on your Instagram, that like, that's such a, I forgot what they said, like it just insert a bunch of like really mean things. And they're like, who would do that? And I'm like, well, first of all, thank you for following me on Instagram as well, because you are probably my biggest supporter. So it's you know what I mean? It's just that I want for people to understand that these are just comments. What you are creating, what you are sharing with the rest of the world is you. And it's free. It's like, they don't have to watch it. They don't have to like it. So they can just switch to a different channel. They're not subscribing to your channel by paying, right? Like, I think the only people that you should be concerned about are paying customers. If a customer said, I don't like your food, and they paid for it, then you try to fix that. But if someone walks up to you and just says, I don't like your shoes, I'd be like, well, I'm glad you're not wearing them. You know what I mean? It's just a different perspective. And I hope that by doing that, people will start to realize or understand that it's just, they're holding themselves way, way too much. They're just think of the things that you can do, right? If you're not so afraid. So I guess that's my message.
I think that's a really great message, because you're right that it does hold a lot of people back, and it is a shame. And it's like, sometimes I just wish that people didn't leave those comments. Like, do they think about the person on the other side? Like, do they actually really think it through? But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It is how you deal with it, and it is horrible to get them. And
yeah, and also think about this though. The loudest people are always going to be the negative ones. Your friends are always going to be the quiet ones, because they're not crazy. That's why they're not crazy. But you have supporters. You just don't hear them because they're not crazy, like I said. But you have them. Don't worry. Yeah.
Yes. Oh man, I love that. Okay, I just want to fangirl again for a moment. Your Instagram feed and your website, by the way, is just so pleasing to look at.
Oh, thank you.
It makes me happy to see something like that. And I just wanted to tell you that. And secondly,
thank you.
I guess that comes though from your graphic designer background, right? So that's something, and that's where that kind of links in. So I know we didn't touch it at the beginning, but how, like you said, you started the Instagram thing first. What was kind of the thought process behind starting the Instagram feed in the first place? And then actually, I do this all the time. I ask 2 questions and then the person forgets, so I'll just leave it at the one. And they're like, what was your second question? I was like, oh.
You know what though? I think I know where you're going. I think what you're trying to say is how do I marry them, right? Like how do they all connect? And if they are connected, and that's actually a really good question. So the aesthetics are definitely from my graphic design experience, and just like my personal taste. And I get a lot of that personal taste from my experience doing design work. So you're right. What was the question?
See, I told you I do this. There's one thing I need to learn to stop.
You and I are going to get along just fine. I do the same thing.
Oh man, this is great. I think this is officially, and I apologize to everyone else, the most fun I've had for a long time. Okay.
That makes me happy.
Okay. Right, I am now going to try and remember what I'd asked you and the point I was getting from. But yeah, so your graphic design background led to Instagram, and you said that you started Instagram like before the YouTube journey. So that was like almost your first step. So what was the kind of thought process behind starting the feed? And again, a very similar question to the YouTube one, but how much of it was planned out? Because again, like I said, your feed is very, I mean, yes, it's your style, but how much was planned? Because it's just, it looks like it's planned or
that's
themed, kind of.
That's a very nice thing to say, to be honest with you, because that just tells me that I've found my style. And I can point to you the original post when I actually talked about this. This was maybe 2 years ago. I posted a photo of my camera. And I remember saying, I wish I could edit something as just like Becky and Chris. I don't know if you follow them on YouTube or on Instagram. Yes. Ooh, their aesthetic is just like that's what I aspire to be, right? And I remember talking about it on that post and saying, I need to keep doing this so that I can figure something out. But I think one of the trick is, as creatives, we always like to try different things, you know, and I keep hitting this mic, and without sticking to one thing. And that's a problem, right? So I said, I think I'm going to stick to one. And that was it. And basically I stuck with one style that I liked. So, and I just tried to see if I can evolve that. And it just lasted for like a few weeks. And when I say lasted, a few weeks for me to actually think about it. Basically, after a few weeks, it was just second nature to me. Okay, this is how I would edit my photos. This is how I would make them look, how I would light them, how I would take photos of them. And it really evolved into something like that. And it's funny because when people say that it looks, you know, planned, I'm like, oh, you should know how I actually came up with this one photo right here. It was just like, oh crap, I need to post something today and just like take a picture of it. You know what I mean? It's a lot of those, but it makes me feel good because now I think people do recognize the particular style that I have, whatever it is, because I still don't really know. I just know what I like. And so that also translates to my videos. That translates to my website. And so it's just like a very, very slow process. And what you see right now is it's just a culmination of all the mistakes that I've made in the last two or 3 years. So right now it looks nice and polished, but I wish I could say, yep, one go. The first go, I got it. But no, it went through a lot of iterations and a lot of like disappointments, hair pulling, you know, just like cursing. And yeah, it's just it's a process. And what you see is just the latest version of it. So yeah, I mean, that's the best way I could describe it. My style, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope I answered your question because I'm not even sure.
You absolutely did. No. It's a good job I didn't ask the second one.
Touche.
Yeah. No, you're right. And actually, I think that this is another point because, again, especially with Instagram, people see the polished version, people see your latest work, and it's so easy to go, well, I haven't got that yet. I haven't figured myself out. I haven't figured my style out. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just like, if I was to post something, like, what if I change my mind, or I'm just experimenting? But to know that, like, not every single person just came out and went, hey, here's my style. Everything evolves over time. And if you don't start, you're never going to be able to find that style.
Yes. Right. As a matter of fact, I used to follow a couple of accounts that I remember I admired so much. And then it was weird because maybe I've spent so much time on the platform that I can kind of read how some people think or their thought process. And there's this one particular account I remember I admired so much. And I'm like, wow, this guy's photos are amazing. And I would only dream of getting up to his level. And I think he was like 10,000 followers at that point. And I only had like 78 or something like that. And I was just like, oh, this guy's awesome. But the problem is this this person obviously felt like they were something. Like they felt like they were the thing, and they felt like they have their own style. They're so unique. And I guess there's nothing wrong with doing that, but sometimes there also comes like a certain expectation, right? So when I post something and I feel like I'm the guy, I'm also expecting people to just worship me, basically. That didn't happen for this guy because it somehow came across his content. Like he's felt like that's his thing, and he's the only one who does that. And he's like, follow me for more inspiration. It's just like, it just comes across as now this guy thinks he's a celebrity. And it's so weird because I remember when I looked back and I was like 20 something thousand followers, and he never left that, basically that following. And I think we were messaging because, I reached out to him a couple of times because I'm like, I admire your account. And then I remember him saying like, man, you've surpassed me already. I didn't know what to say. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, just keep doing it. I guess it's what I was saying. And then he stopped and he just kind of just disappeared. And I'm like, yeah, that sucks. That sucks. I think if it really goes back to just, if you're being yourself, you're trying to share what you like and not what you think people will like. That's a very important thing, and I've been a victim of this myself. I would try to be just like someone else, but guess what? The people you follow, the people that you admire the most, do you ever look at them and say, I like this person because they are just like A or B or whatever? No, you like them because they're being themselves. You like them because they have their own thing. So why would you try to be just like anyone else? So that's just a little thing to think about.
That is so true. So much wisdom here tonight.
I feel like an old man.
Yeah. Thanks, Gramps. This has been a great talk. Like, here's what I learned in my 70 years.
I know.
It probably feels like that, right?
Oh, it does feel like that. Yeah. Chelsea always makes fun of me. Chelsea, for your listeners, is my co-host at Coffee with Creators. And it's funny, Bhav, I'm sorry because she knows when to shut me up. Because I talk so much, and she's like, all right, Michael, let's move on. I'm like, okay, yeah, thank you. And sometimes I feel like people know that already. And just earlier, I realized that I've been talking way, way too much already. And to the point where I don't even remember the question. So sorry.
Please don't apologize. People are here to listen to you. I am here to listen to you and your wisdom. So, and trust me, you're not going on too long. It's okay. It's fine. But I have no awareness of the time right now. So.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, not from me. Like I imagine you have a life and stuff to do. So I'm going to carry on, but I'm going to, if I'm looking down, I'm just checking that I'm not stealing too much of your time. Because
of course, yeah, no, we can speed it up a little bit. I'll be mindful this time.
No, that's cool. That wasn't at you. That was more, if I look down, I'm just checking that I'm not stealing your time. Okay. So, oh man, again, 2 questions. Right. I want to start. Okay. I want to talk about your desk setups, and
okay.
I've already fangirled about how amazing they are, so I won't do that again. But in terms of looking at your channel, and again, maybe more the strategy point of view, but probably more of the impact that it's had on you and your thoughts. Those videos have obviously completely blown up, like a million views on them, and they are everywhere, and everyone loves them, and they are like inspiration for probably anyone who wants a desk in just dream desk. So how, if at all, has that affected the way you think about your channel and your content? I know you've just spent most of this talking about how you want to just put out content that feels genuine and you be you, but has that at all made you think, oh, I wonder if, or actually I'm going to shift it? Because I suppose there's nothing wrong with slightly amending to give the audience what they want, as long as it's still natural and genuine. So has that had any impact on those kind of things?
Absolutely. I think you asked the most interesting. Interesting is not being. I wish I could think of another word other than interesting, but I think your questions are the best. Basically, what I'm saying.
I was gonna say, if someone says interesting, I'm like, oh, that means it's crap.
Yeah, I know. That wasn't what I was trying to say, but because those videos, my desk setup, has definitely made a major impact on the way I want to steer my channel. So me as a person, I love sitting in a space that is inspiring, that I surround myself with stuff that I like, that I feel like I'm at home. And again, it goes back to my dreary days of just sitting in a cube and how much I hated that. And having my own desk was just my way of expressing that. And I actually remember, I was just talking to my wife about this last week. I said, do you remember when I first decided that I wanted to put some shelves behind my desk? And you asked me what I was going to put on those shelves. And I said, I don't know, because I didn't have any books to display or anything else. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to put on that shelf my lenses, my camera lenses. And then she said, yeah, I remember that. And I'm like, do you remember making fun of me? And she said, yeah. I'm like, okay. So I remember at that time, I've never seen anyone. And this is a true story. I've been on the platform for a bit by then, but I've never seen anyone put their lenses on their shelves as a photographer. Then I did that. So I put my lenses on the shelf, and she's like, why would you look at your lenses instead of the photos that you took? I'm like, I can't explain it, but I like the way it looks. I like seeing my camera gear. When I was a kid, when I was younger, I didn't have the money to buy all this gear. And now that I have it, it just feels so nice to look at. And then the first time I posted that, I remember I got so many comments saying, why would you put your lenses on the shelf? And then someone even said, won't they get dirty, or won't they fall off if there was an earthquake? I'm like, to be fair, even if they were in the cabinet or something, if there was an earthquake, they will fall. So don't worry about it. But I remember doing that. There was no purpose behind it. People were asking me, what's the purpose? And I'm like, there's no purpose other than it inspires me. And now every single desk setup that I see has the same thing. I'm not saying I started it, okay? I mean, I would like to think that I did.
Yeah. You started it.
I would like to think that I did. But I very, very clearly remember that feeling. It was so weird to have to explain how what the purpose is. I'm like, couldn't the explanation just be, I like it? So yeah, so that's how my desk started. And then that's how I kind of directed the my desk setup reviews, or not reviews, but videos. And because it became so popular, basically everyone has a desk setup video now, right? Not because of me, but I'm just saying, because it became so popular, I didn't want to be labeled as the desk person, right? I don't want people to think of me as just like Michael, the desk person. I mean, that's nice, but I'm more than that. So I always say inspiring spaces, because I want people to remember my brand as someone who likes inspiring spaces. So it can be either at a desk, at somewhere else, or just even cars. Like, I talk a lot about cars, and I'm like talking about the interior, how it feels like, and all that stuff. I haven't shared that on my channel, but I'm that type of person. So now the direction that I'm trying to take is that it can be literally anything, as long as it inspires me. If it's around me, then I feel like that should go on the channel. Maybe not a travel thingy, because I'm not about traveling. Yeah, but spaces, inspiring spaces. So as a matter of fact, I'm actually working on something pretty, like, one of the projects that I'm most excited about in the last few months. So I'm working on it, and it's not a desk setup, but I'm super excited to share it. I'm super excited to actually finish the video. And yeah, we'll see where it goes. But yeah, it has a major impact on the direction of my channel. And now everything else that I share that is related to tech, related to whatever, is kind of, it's still in the same realms. You know what I mean? Like, if you're in a desk, you use a lot of tech. What tech do you use? Well, I try to use things that are nice, right? Like this very expensive Grove Made pen, for example. Why would you buy an expensive Grove Made pen? Because I like it, because it looks nice. You know what I mean? There's no other purpose than it to just be inspiring for me. So that's what I'm trying to move towards, I guess. I hope I answered your question again.
Yeah, you absolutely did. That's so
Okay.
awesome. And I love how you're calling it like inspired spaces, because it doesn't have to be, oh, like I'm a tech YouTuber, I need a desk setup. It's actually, how do you just feel comfortable? What inspires you to create? That could be creating anything, and it's not
absolutely
very specific, right?
Yeah.
And actually, like, going back to the growth made is definitely inspirational. But going back to that, you want to use the things that like you're attracted to, right? That if they are, whether they're expensive or cheap, that's not really the thing. It's, hang on, that's something that I genuinely like and makes me happy, and therefore I want to use it. And I think that's just a nice thing. Why wouldn't you want to have an enjoyable process when you're doing something? Isn't that the whole point?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think people, especially now because of social media, we all get too excited with what other people say, right? Like if a product is very popular, it's trending, regardless if it performs well, or maybe even if it fits your lifestyle or not, you want it just because you think people will like you more because you have it. And someone asked me, actually, maybe it's a little bit unrelated, but I was just reminded of a question that I got, and someone said, "How come you don't feature cheap items? Like, I wish you would make videos showing just cheap items." And I said, "Well, for one, if I were the guy who was just showing cheap items, then my brand would be just Michael who shares cheap items, right? People who shop or would visit my page would be looking for cheap items, which I don't want." Second is if you were looking for a mouse, for example, I could recommend you 100 different mice if you're looking for a mouse. But why would you settle for just if you're going to settle for like a simple cheap mouse, why are you even watching this video, right? Like if you want a cheap mouse, don't waste your time watching a video. Buy a cheap mouse. Right. So why not aspire for something that's bigger or better and more, maybe a little bit more expensive, but it's something to aspire, it's something to work towards. It should be something that you can be proud of when you're using it, not because I got this because it's the cheapest. Like when you walk in a store, I can relate to this. When I walk in a store, first thing I do is like a clothing store, for example, first thing I do is go to the bargain section because that's only what I can afford. Wouldn't it be a nicer feeling if you walked in a store that you liked and bought the things that you like, not because those are the only ones that you can afford? You know what I mean? So that's how I think about the items. And that's why I try to carefully place or choose the things that I like. Some of them are more functional than aesthetics, obviously. But yeah, that's just to answer that one person's question. And I don't know how I got to this topic. Sorry.
This is brilliant. No, that's absolutely cool. Fine. And yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on the MX3 because it is a joy to use every single day.
It's good. Right? Yeah, I'm telling people it's good. It's expensive, but it's good.
But it's worth it. And when you, this is what I don't understand with people. And I get like people who genuinely can't afford it. I'm not talking about those, but when you can, and maybe I need to be in this mindset a bit more, but if there's things that you use as well, like 8, 9, 10 hours a day, like if they're cheap or just like annoying, then that's no fun. But if you get up and you're like, I have this amazing keyboard that I love to like type on, and I've got this amazing mouse, and they just work together, and oh my god, look at all the cool things you could do, and all of a sudden I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and like it's paid for itself.
Exactly. You're drawn to your desk because everything inspires. Everything you touch is inspiring. And you almost look, I noticed this when I was working as a full-time graphic designer. I was so eager to get up and then go to my office just so I can, feel these things that are on my desk. It's so weird, but it's just so inspiring. And I would take pictures of it. And my wife would walk in. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Nothing." So yeah, it's different. Like, and it's a very personal experience. And I think you don't have to explain that, right? If you like it, then you like it.
Yes. No, that's cool. Not that anyone's here to listen to me, but like I will find uses for things I like the look of, right? So even growing up, I was like, oh no, 10. And there was an old dead laptop lying around that my uncle had left or something. And I just, every single day I would go and just type on it. Nothing even worked. But I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to be the type of person that has a laptop that I can type on, right? It's just, it's a joy. And I will find reasons. I'm pretty sure that's the reason I started a podcast, because I wanted the Rodecaster Pro at some point, and it's still on my list. And I was
you'll get it. Don't worry, you'll get it.
Thank you. And like even now, actually, like with the YouTube thing, like I've been trying to do that for years. I just haven't got the inspiration. All of a sudden, yes, obviously I got a little kick up the backside, but I now feel like I've got a great setup that is a joy to sit at and film at. And all of a sudden the process is like, I get to film a YouTube video. This is kind of cool. And it's just a whole different mindset. And that's why things are worth it. So I 100% agree with you.
Absolutely. Now you're inspired. Now you just want that desire to share gets bigger, right? Like that feeling just becomes more apparent. And why not, right? If you can keep feeding that side of you, that creative side of you to share more, why not?
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to it. By the way, I want to see your desk set up.
Yeah.
Are you going to do one?
I will do one when I have a proper desk.
No, do one right now. It doesn't have to be fancy.
Guys, do you want to no, I can't. It's horrific. The bits you can see are fine. I want to get one of the standard tech YouTube. I want to get the IKEA worktop across the top.
Right.
And I want, like, actually, I'm totally going to pick your brain after this. I want to get like a proper setup, because at the moment it's all like, I work over there. That's where my monitor is and stuff. But I stream and film here, and it's like, be nice to kind of maybe not have two spaces. But we'll see. I've got to figure it out. And because I haven't figured it out, and I want a standing desk as well, because now I'm literally at my computer for 12, 14 hours a day. It's like, this can't be healthy.
No, so, we're not built for that. We're not built to sit that long. And
even I'm not, and I'm like the laziest person on the earth. So if I'm not, then we're not. Okay, cool. I had lots more questions, but I had one that I absolutely wanted to ask you. And that is, in your YouTube journey, what are the biggest learnings that you have kind of taken away?
Ooh, that's a hard question to answer. Because everything, everything is still hard. Everything is still a learning process for me. But I did find out that the more I did the videos, no matter how terrible they are, or I think they are, because I gave myself that weekly deadline, like, you have to push out content every week. I did that for, I don't even remember, 2020, 2019, I don't even remember. But that process helped me tremendously, because for one, when people look at my video, I still don't think so, but when they look at my video, they're like, you look so comfortable talking in front of the camera. No, not true. But I've gotten used to it because I've done it so many times, right? Like, I think repetition is such an underrated thing. You do it over and over again, over and over again. Suddenly, without even realizing it, you're way, way better at doing that thing, whether it's speaking in front of the camera or shooting B-roll or writing or just anything. Repetition is so underrated. So, if anyone's looking for my advice, I'm hoping someone is, but no, if anyone's looking for my advice, I would say keep doing it. No matter how bad you think it is, keep doing it. As a matter of fact, now I'm looking for my old videos that I've scrapped, because I want to see how different how much I've grown. I know I've grown. I just don't know how much. So it'll be a fun thing for me to actually check it out and say, oh, that's a very different vibe when I talk to the camera. You can tell that I'm still trying to pretend or something. But yeah, repetition, it's probably my biggest teacher. And, it doesn't matter if they're bad or good. You know what I mean? Like, most of the time, it's bad in my eyes. It's bad because I know the mistakes. I know the things. I know my faults. I know everything. But for people who are watching it, they're just like, wow, this, good for him. He started his own YouTube channel, and then now you're suddenly the expert. I'm like, I'm not, I'm not an expert, but I've done it so many times that I do feel comfortable doing it.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's cool. And that was kind of what I was hopefully leading up to. So thank you for asking is advice. Cause I know that a lot of people don't put stuff out or don't start, like we talked about earlier. And actually one of the other videos that I really liked that you did was the Just Start video, because it's something that comes
you saw that one.
yes and I loved it because it's my new motto. It's like #just start. That I've stolen from somewhere, obviously. But no, it's such a great message. It's such a great video. It's so true. And no matter who I speak to on this show, it's the one thing that like comes out of it, right? It's like consistency and actually just starting in the first place, because how can you get anywhere if you don't start? So no, that's super cool and a great video, and I would recommend anybody
Thank you.
Go and watch
Those
it.
are my favorite videos, by the way, when I share, when Grandpa Michael shares his
yes
wisdom. You know what I mean?
You should new playlist. Grandpa Michael wisdom hour. I love it.
Wisdom hour.
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to specifically link that video at the bottom because I think everybody should watch it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
No, that's cool. We didn't get to speak about the podcast, but I also want to give a little shout out to the podcast. So do you want to maybe give a brief intro into what that's about?
Yeah, I mean, I actually don't want you to shout out my podcast because this is your podcast, but I appreciate it. But so I run a podcast with a fellow creator. Her name's Chelsea Horn, and it's called the Coffee with Creators podcast. We are now on episode. You're going to be impressed, but I warn you, do not be impressed when I say that we're on episode 43 or 45, because we are not experts. Even on the last episode, we're like, you think by now we know what we're doing, but we were still fumbling through all these different, whatever. But like all these things that we keep messing up. We're starting to feel comfortable. And again, we applied the same thing that I did on my YouTube channel. So when we started right at the beginning of the pandemic. And I said, Chelsea, we just need to keep pumping out episodes because that's the only way we can learn. So even though we've had 45-ish episodes out already, we are still learning. But gee whiz, like it's so nice to know that I'm comfortable. I can just turn on the microphone now and be like, let's start recording. You know what I mean? It feels just so empowering to be so comfortable now at something that you used to be so terrified of, So we just applied the same concept. Just keep doing it until you get better. And then eventually you'll be like, people will look at you and be like, look at you being Mr. and Miss Expert. And I'm like, yeah, of course, it's just a cinch, but it's not the case, right? So I think if people are more comfortable with just doing the thing over and over again, you might be surprised at what you can achieve. So, but yeah, the key is you just start. And so going back to the podcast, it's Coffee with Creators. And all we do is really just talk about all things creative and talk about that, creator lifestyle. We share our insights, like, some of the content would be sharing our tips for growing your Instagram, connecting with your audience, engagement, and all the other stuff. But the main point of it is we just want it to be a place where creatives or creators can just hang out and listen to us ramble while drinking their favorite cup of coffee, tea, water, or whatever. That's pretty much it. I love
that. That's so cool. I have to catch up on a lot of episodes because it is new to me. So I apologize, but I will be doing that. And maybe that would be the
terrible. Don't worry.
No.
It's terrible.
I highly, highly doubt that. But actually, it sounds like you started like pretty much around the time that I started. I think I started in May, so you were probably a month before. And
yeah, April.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's cool. And yeah, like mine have been terrible until like recently when they've got slightly less terrible. Case in point tonight. Before we started. So
oh no, my camera stopped. Wait, hang on. I have a trick for this. Don't panic. There you go. And I'm back.
I always panic. I'm like, did I say the wrong thing? He's just staring at me. I was like, I'm so sorry. What did I say? But yeah, no, they're super cool. And you're right. Like when I started, I had zero idea what I was doing. And now I'm here talking to amazing people like you. So if that is,
thank you.
Like,
good job, by the way.
Thank you.
That's the hardest part, just starting. So
yeah, completely agree. Amazing, Michael. I think we've covered everything you do, but do you want to just summarize where people can find you?
Yeah, just
I'll tell you what, I'll link everything below.
Yeah. I'm like, what is my Instagram? No, you can follow me on Instagram. I would say Instagram is the main hub, so you can link out to all the other stuff that I do. But I am Mitch Soul Design on Instagram, and Bhav will very kindly link the thing because I can't, probably people are like, what now, Mitch? Yeah. What now? So yeah, you'll find me there. And then if you visit my site, then you'll find my YouTube and everything else. So come follow me. I'm very kind. So don't worry, or at least I think I'm kind.
You are
so
absolutely very kind.
You can message me, you can follow me, you can stalk me. Don't talk me, but yeah.
Please don't stalk him. Let's not be weird. But go and follow him and sub, please.
Yes, please. I would very much appreciate that.
Excellent. And check out the podcast, which I'm about to do. But yeah, and also please check out a website. Like, even if you don't do anything else, and just like glance at his Instagram, because honestly, you will want to just stare at it. It is beautiful.
You're too kind. Thank you.
Amazing. All right, Michael. I think I've rambled on long enough, and you probably have, Eli. So I'd firstly like to thank you so much for agreeing to coming on, and also putting up with 45 minutes of technical issues, and on top of that, actually recording this for me.
I don't know what you're talking about. That was 45 minutes of me having fun. That was fun. That was problem solving. So that was just fun. So don't worry about it. Yeah, it's an honor to be in this podcast. So I love being here. Thank you for inviting me, and it's a great time, honestly. With all the technical issues and all, it was a great time.
Thank you. Amazing. Right, guys, I'll see you all next week. Hopefully, that could be fun. Bye, guys.